Okay, this episode has a lot less action than the last one, but once again, it got even better. I don't know how this show is doing this, but almost every single episode since episode 3 has just been getting better and better and better and better. And now it is at its greatest episode yet. Again, there is a lot to talk about with this one, so let's not waste any time and dive right in. Yep, you're getting 3 episode reviews today because I could not stop myself from just watching the 3rd episode early. Because I needed to see at least the first 2 parts. I needed to see it because that ending of episode 1 part 1 of this shocked me so much that I needed to see how it continued on into part 2. Don't worry, last episode review you're getting today, you're not going to get all of them in one go. I'm not that crazy. But yeah, after episode 1, not episode 1, sorry, I don't know why I keep saying it. Part 1 of Struggle for Trost left me just jaw on the ground in horror. I had to see what happened next, so that's why this episode review is coming out earlier than expected, because this one was planned for tomorrow, but I just couldn't help myself, because now this show's got me very hooked in. So it's going to be hard to resist not watching each episode until the day I have to review it. So if you end up getting a lot of earlier reviews of this season, that's why. Because it hooked me in, and it's going to be hard for me to resist watching the episodes immediately. In other words, it's doing what a good show should do. So, once again, we have a lot to talk about with this episode, including, but not limited to, Mikasa's backstory. Yeah, this episode has some character development. So, let's not waste any more time and dive straight in. What's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Anime Station, which is for anything animation, including TV movies as well. I'm your host, Justin Small. Welcome back to Attack on August. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 6, right? Yes, Episode 6 of Attack on Titan, known as The World the Girl Saw, aka The Struggle for Trust Part 2. Another phenomenal episode. It's somehow even better than the last one. And keep in mind, that's taking into account that shock ending. This episode is intense, it is dark, it is violent, but it is very emotional. There is a lot to talk about with this one, so let's not waste any time and dive right in, starting with our little overview. And then we'll get into scene by scene. Eren's death weighs heavily on Armin's mind while Mikasa forcefully persuades a merchant boss to allow the civilians to evacuate the district before his goods can. She recalls the day 6 years ago when Eren saved her from bandits who killed her parents, the day she received her scarf and began considering Eren as family. In other words, if you're wondering where the scarf came from, it was originally Eren's, and Eren gave it to Mikasa. And that's pretty much when she became his surrogate sister. So, yeah, like I said, a lot to talk about with this episode, so let's not waste any time. First up, we have to deal with Armin in grief. It is heartbreaking, to say the least, because I've grown to really like Armin as a character, and, again, was not expecting Eren to die so early. But since he did, Armin is just unbelievably just shattered. You can see it in his face, you can see it in his eyes, like, he just saw his best friend save his life and then die right in front of him. That will mess up anybody. And Armin is struggling with this grief, and he's mad at himself, of course, because that's one of the first stages of grief. And he ends up having to get shaken out of his trance by a fellow soldier from a different brigade. But after he shakes him free, he runs away, because he just can't take it anymore, and he's at his breaking point. And then as he's running away, let me see. Sorry, I'm trying to find the part. Oh, crap, I can't find it. Well, anyway, one of the scenes before, like, right after he leaves, is when he comes over to the couple from an earlier scene where there was this couple that were comforting each other right before they went into battle. and she's doing CPR on her boyfriend. But the boyfriend has been chopped in half. We don't actually see a whole lot of intestinal blood or anything like that, aside from like one shot for a few seconds, but she's really breaking down, crying, and trying to get him to resuscitate, but he can't because he's dead. And Armin realizes this, and he tries to get her away from him so that he can get her to safety. But she refuses to leave his side, despite the fact that he is dead. It is somber, it is dark, and it is heartbreaking. So that's pretty much all Armin's scenes for the episode, because the rest of it is focused on Mikasa. First up, we have the scene where there's this merchant trying to get his stuff through this gate. But what he's doing by trying to get his stuff through the gate is that he's blocking the gate from allowing any of the civilians to escape. In other words, he was pretty much putting himself before the others and wanting his stuff out and didn't care if any of them died. And then that's when a Titan rushes at him. Mikasa comes over, and we get our first on-screen Titan death of the series, where she kills this abnormal Titan immediately. And then she tells the merchant to pull out the wagon and let the people free. He obviously says no, so she immediately knocks out his 2 guards and holds one of her swords to his throat. And then that's what convinces him to finally get the wagon out of the way, allowing people to escape. And then this little girl, the little girl who also spotted the Titan running at them, thanks Mikasa for saving their lives, and Mikasa does the salute with a smile on her face. It's a nice moment. And then for the rest of the episode, we pretty much dive into the backstory of how Mikasa became who she became, how she became so stone cold and so, well, willing to kill, if that's the way to put it. And it's actually a pretty tragic story. See, how it went is that Mikasa obviously had her mom and dad. She wasn't the birth sister of Eren, but she knew Eren, and at least she knew Eren's dad, Mr. Yeager, because Mr. Yeager was there to help Mikasa's mom deliver her. So they're awaiting his arrival again. They're not really saying why, but they say that he's supposed to be there. But it ends up turning violent when a group of do I want to say the word? I'm afraid of getting flagged. Sexist human traffickers. Yeah, I know that word's probably going to get me flagged or demonetized, but that's literally what they are. Because they go in, they immediately kill the dad, and then the mom struggles enough to where the lead trafficker puts an axe through her head. Like, yeesh. And then they kidnap Mikasa. And then that's when Dr. Yeager comes, he finds the bodies, and then he tells Eren to go wait for him at the foot of the mountain. Eren, of course, does the opposite, and ends up finding Mikasa and the human traffickers. And keep in mind, this is before she became the stone cold killer that she is. For now, Mikasa is a terrified hostage. So she's there, tied up on the floor, and they're talking about selling her to the highest bidder. Like I said, they're pretty much sexist human traffickers. The most horrible people you can ever imagine. And one of them goes to answer the door. Eren's there. Eren manages to fake a lie, and then immediately kills one of the traffickers by putting his knife through his chest. I wish it was a bit more brutal than that, but apparently we're not that part of the show yet, so that's one of them dead. And then the second one, Eren kills him too, and then he frees Mikasa only for a third one to show up, and as he's getting choked out, he tells Mikasa to take the knife and finish it. And then that's when Mikasa finally becomes the Mikasa that she really is. Because in that moment, as she says, like, she had full control of her body, she wasn't afraid anymore, and she had no problem killing anything anymore. So then she kills this guy by putting the knife through his back out the front and stabbing him through the heart. Like, we sadly don't get to see it. We just see the knife in the back. But Dr. Jaeger ends up finding them, and he's the one that tells the little gruesome details. So after that, Dr. Jaeger, of course, reprimands his son for not listening to him and not going to the foot of the mountain like he was supposed to. But Eren makes the very convincing argument that if he did what his father told him to, then Mikasa would have been gone, and she would have been sold off, and the traffickers would have gotten their money. So he does manage to convince his dad that he did the right thing. And Mikasa asks the doctor if he can take her home, because she has nowhere else to go. And then there's the scene where they're sitting by this fire, and Eren, after hearing Mikasa talk about how it's so cold out here, because it's literally in the middle of the winter when this happens, Eren gives her the scarf, and she wears that scarf for pretty much the entire series going forward. It's a very brief scene, but it tells so much about their relationship, about why she feels in debt to Eren, and why she wants so badly to protect him and keep him from getting killed. Obviously unaware that he's already dead, so yeah, it's great character development for Mikasa, and on the side it talks about Armin's grief, and it does a great job conveying that. This episode is dark, somber, tragic, and violent. But that's also what makes it so good, because it's so gripping, it's so well done. Like, it doesn't feel, like, malicious in any way. It feels like, well, artistic. I mean, yes, it's brutal, and the human trafficking thing is morally reprehensible, but it's meant to tell the story and to build up the characters. So even if it's something reprehensible in real life, obviously, it builds up the characters, and it's done through artistry. And that's what I really love about anime compared to cartoons. Like, cartoons do a good job with building up characters and stuff like that, but they aren't willing to do things that dark. Like, every now and then you'll get a cartoon that does that, but it's very, very brief. So, one sec. Sorry, there was a wasp in my window. But anyway, point is, this is a phenomenal episode. They did a great job showing Mikasa's backstory, and it's gonna absolutely crush me when I see the scene where she finds out that Eren's dead. Like, oh, I'm not looking forward to that. But this episode's phenomenal, and it does an amazing job conveying the two different plot lines without feeling rushed or incomprehensible. So, props for that. And again, this series just keeps getting better with every single episode, so I don't really have much else to say. So, final verdict for this episode, strong 11 out of 10. It's somehow better than the last episode, even taking that shock ending into account, and it has me hooked in for how the rest of this 9-parter is going to play out. So, yeah, that's it. A pretty long review for a pretty long, complex episode. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. That's the final episode review for today. I'll be back here tomorrow with another review. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I did tomorrow's review early because I couldn't help myself. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time when we see how this continues onward with Struggle for Trost Part 3.